8:36, you're listening to LBC. This extraordinary story of the would-be Conservative MP's plot to put together a race rally, and then he would have seen as a sort of shining knight to try and resolve it. It all hinges on work done by Tommy Robinson, who was the founder and, I think, former leader of the EDL, the English Defence League, who joins me in the studio. Mr. Robinson, thank you for coming in. Are you... Mr. Amin is saying you are still the leader. Are you still the leader of the EDL?
No, I'd like to clear that up first of all. Since leaving the English Defence League, I had no contact with anyone in that organisation up until Afzal contacted me when there was an English Defence League demonstration which was in his constituency of Dudley. And
what year was that, Mr. Robinson?
This was February. This February.
This February?
Yeah, I met Afzal a year ago, yeah.
Right.
And I've met a lot of progressive Muslims since leaving the English Defence League who want to counter extremism. Afzal was introduced to me as one of them.
Right.
But this meeting, it was in the build-up to an English Defence League demonstration.
Who did you meet Mr. Amin through, just out of interest?
I met him at Quilliam.
At Quilliam? Okay.
At Quilliam.
And this was around June of last year?
No, I first met him 2013.
2013?
Yeah.
Right. Through Quilliam?
Through Quilliam.
OK, so on you go. Yeah.
So I had... I'd met Afzal and he contacted me and said, can I come down and see you? He come down, we went for something to eat, and he asked me to meet the leaders of the English Defence League. Could I help facilitate a meeting with the leaders of the English Defence League? Afzal ticked all the boxes. From when I'd met him, he's ex-forces, he's counter-extremism. He says it in these recordings. He agrees with 95% of what the English Defence League had stood for, and he wanted to help combat those problems.
Have you ever sought financial support from him?
No, never.
What is he driving?
If I go through this...
I mean, that hints at, Mr. Robinson, I'm going to put this candidly, blackmail.
Yeah.
Have you ever attempted in any way, shape or form to blackmail
No,
Afzal?
I have not. And to be honest, I can't believe his response to this. When you can see it all, it's all there. When you can see it, you can hear him. I don't lead him at all. When he come and met me and he bought this, everything was running fine until he come and met me and he bought his money man with him. This money man, Afzal was driving his car, yeah, which was a big £60,000 motor. When he come and met me, he told me he's worth £60 million.
Sorry, who's worth it?
The money man, yeah.
Who you're not going to identify?
Well, I don't. Oh, I do know his identity, but I'm not going to. To be honest, I am already upsetting people, yeah, with this story.
Right.
Okay. Now, this money man is worth £60 million. He is not a conservative.
So what line is the money man in?
He's in business.
Yeah.
Chicken poult. He's got 25 businesses.
25
businesses. Now, he's the money man. He's come down and told me he'll do whatever it takes to get Afzal in.
Fair, will you give me the identity of the man? Okay,
yeah.
Right.
He will do anything to get Afzal in. Now, this, to me, straight away caused alarm when I met him and he started offering me all these things. I pushed him on certain things like, are you a conservative? No, he's not a conservative.
This is this other
the money man, yeah?
The money man.
So he's not a conservative and he's backing someone and he's doing anything possible to get him in. That, as I see, is infiltration of a political party.
So did he say what he was?
With a different agenda. If
he's not a conservative, did he indicate
he votes Labour, and what he also he says that this is all on tape, yeah. And what he also says, which his brother says, is the reason why they wanted Afzal in is because when they were getting harassed by the police, yeah, then what they would be able to do is ring up Afzal as their candidate, as their parliamentary. He would be able to ring the chief of police. Yeah. To me, I'm sitting listening to all this like. This is concerning, very, very concerning. When we've seen the infiltration of political parties in Tower Hamlets and places like this, yeah, this is exactly the same. It's a Trojan horse of getting people into play. And I looked at Afzal as a puppet. I saw him as a puppet. And for me, the reason why I went to great lengths to get this recorded was because people wouldn't believe me. So
when did it change then? Because initially you meet Amin and you warm to him. You think that actually this could be a bloke who could be good for what you're trying to achieve. Move all the hotheads to one side. You've never supported them. This bloke we might actually get. When did it suddenly turn and you thought this is a problem? When the arrival of this money. Well,
because there was no with the arrival of the money man.
And when was that, broadly speaking?
It was my daughter's birthday, which was the 9th of March.
As recent as that?
Recent as that, yeah.
Hang on, that's this month, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, yeah.
Right, OK, on we go.
And he's come to meet me, and he's come down to Luton. They've took me to a Muslim restaurant in Luton. With the characters the money man was talking about, he's from Birmingham, and the character he was talking about that he's friends and associated with in Luton, I know are not nice people, yeah, and they're involved in criminality. Right. So straight away I'm alarmed.
What form of criminality?
Everything. They are gangsters. Everything. So then this is when I'm getting very, very concerned.
Thank God we didn't name him, otherwise we would be in trouble. Okay. Now, you made an interesting point that if they had got, your claim is if they'd got Amin in, you said that if there was any trouble, they would have been able to... What sort of trouble were we talking about?
He was talking about, he said, what he says is the police were harassing him and they raided his mother's house over some... car ringing thing or something like that. And to this, I look at all of the politics in this country, and for me, it's everything that's was wrong.
Yes.
I then look at Rotherham and cases like this where we've seen blatantly the police not acting, and you have to ask the question why. And I'm putting it all together.
Was this man, you think, involved in grooming as well?
His hotel that he owns was done in a sting operation by police for grooming.
Right, I see.
So there's a lot that when this is going on,
Right.
I am alarmed and I am concerned.
Right.
Yeah? And Afzal, with what he's coming out with now, Afzal needs to understand every conversation from the minute. It's not like it's not like that. There's 10 minutes worth of conversation from the minute I get out of the car and go into that meeting, which is in the restaurant again owned by this money man. When I go into that meeting, everything is on record. Everything is recorded.
How long was your
2.5 hours?
And everything's recorded.
Every single minute till I get back in the car. There's nothing that's not on camera. And for this, it's about time. I think there's enough dishonesty in politics anyway.
I think many people would agree with you. How likely is it that Amin would be fully aware of the money man's background, i.e. the law, the criminality?
Well, I don't know if he does have a criminality background. He said
the money man?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he has. I'm saying the people he was talking about in Luton, yeah?
Right. I thought you said he owned the hotel.
He does own a hotel, yeah.
Would Amin be aware?
I don't know if the hotel owner was aware that it's been used for grooming.
I see.
So with what he's discussed in that conversation was that the police had done some operation.
Let's come in. How close is Amin to this money?
Extremely close.
So he would be aware of that.
Yeah, 20 years. 20 years. He said they've been together, and for me it's alarming and it was shocking.
So you decide that this has to be exposed.
It has to be exposed.
What happens next? You contact the paper?
No, I think no. I think what happened next was I went down myself into London. So I put him off. When he asked to meet the English Defence League to put this offer to them, I put Afzal off and said they're not available. I then travelled into London to a spy shop to try and buy cameras, yeah? It's £900 it was for a pinhole camera. So then I rang a documentary maker that are working on a documentary with me, and I explained the full situation to them. I said, look, I'm not sure what's going to be offered because I wasn't entirely sure. I said, but it's underhand, it's financial, and it's wrong. So we need it on camera. Right. And I explained it to him. I said, so bite your lip in this meeting, because he had to bite his lip.
So at the meeting, there was you, there was Amin, there was the money man, and there was
the money man's brother. Who's also said that's when he makes the comment about they're supporting him. He makes the comment about the police in that meeting.
I see.
And there was that's it.
And the EDL leader.
And the chairman for the EDL.
Right. Do we have his name, or is that
Steve Eddowes?
Right, okay, and he's meeting as well.
Yeah, he was at this meeting as well, but he was privy to the whole thing that was going on. I explained it all to him and said, look, you're going to have to bite your lip, and he had to bite his lip. He said when he come out, he felt the same, insulted.
Right. We've got some headphones there. I just want to play you a couple of clips from the recording you did and get your take on this. This was one of the things. This is Amin talking on the possible influence you've hinted at, Mr. Robinson.
So what's being proposed to you is that you hire them.
Okay.
And then we'll work out what contribution, if any, they can make directly to our campaign and what they can do directly for you. But let's talk about that face to face.
Yep. Okay then. Cool. No problem.
Yeah, because we obviously can't hire people in that way, because that would be against election rules, and we don't want to break any rules.
That's okay. So what? So yeah. I'll pay them, and then we'll sort something out between me and you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no problem.
In fact, that was about this possible. Let's go back to Mr. Robinson live. This is obviously the payments would have been made then subsequently from Amin. Do you take that?
Well, when the money man come and met me, they told me that so long as they can get him, so long as I could help them get him into Parliament, I would never go hungry. I'd be financially looked after. They asked me how much my outgoings were.
Was Amin present when that was said?
Amin was present, yeah. And then it's at this meeting then.
So they say, how much do you need a year? And you say X, whatever it might be.
How much your outgoings a month, they said. And I said this much, and they said, easy. It's easy to sort out. And that was at the first meeting when they come to
As long as you brokered this deal for the fake race rally.
As long as I helped them do this. So they wanted me to do it all, yeah? At that point, I'm not comfortable in doing that. And at which point I said, you're going to have to ask the English Defence League yourself.
When we first started talking, Mr. Robinson, you said that Amin ticked many of the boxes. He was involved, he's ex-military, he was involved in these sorts of things. Supposing you've been set up, supposing he now says, I was doing it all to lure them in, to get as deep as I could go, how would you respond?
He can't, it's all on camera, mate, I record the whole lot.
But he might say he was playing a role, deliberately playing a role.
Yeah, look,
to try and get deep into the EDL.
Look at what he's saying. His response to this, when I've read that, is embarrassing. Okay,
In what way embarrassing?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you listen to the recordings and tapes, he just needs to hold his hands up and accept what he's done wrong. Yeah, and what he's did is categorically wrong. Categorically, it's dishonest. He wanted to deceive the electorates of Dudley. He wanted to deceive the police. And the reason why one of the reasons why I want to expose it was also the police would have been completely played in this. And they are being played in many circumstances like this across the country. And I wanted them to realise that. Look, he keeps even mentioning now Chris Johnson, the head of the police. So as I'm reading it, he just needs to accept what he's done wrong and be very honest about it.
Have you achieved what you wanted?
Yeah, I believe we have to really question, not just on this case of Afzal Amin, we have to question, which I see as a Trojan horse infiltration of political parties, which is going on by people with completely different agendas to those political parties. And I don't believe this is bigger than Afzal Amin. I believe that the people financing him, it's wrong and it's corrupt. And there's a lot of questions that need to be asked about it. And now, if you listen, and he needs to remember, on these tape recordings, what he says, now he's coming out saying I'm an extremist. Well, on these tape recordings that he says, in a year's time, he's going to say to David Cameron, Tommy Robinson was right. Yeah, this is all recorded from his mouth. Tommy Robinson was right on grooming. Tommy Robinson, and it's unfair the treatment I face from the police. He says all of this, his mouth, and now he's coming out and trying to say I'm an extremist. And by saying I'm still leader of the English Defence League, it's ridiculous. I feel incredibly awkward. Yeah, I don't feel like I feel awkward in the fact that he's probably having a terrible time right now, yeah, and I don't feel happy about that, and I know that it's probably causing him complete distress.
Well,
but he's done wrong.
Don't feel happy about it. Why did you put it in?
Because he's done wrong. Right. What I mean is,
on a personal level.
On a personal level, I'm not taking any pleasure out of how the situation he's in. But he's put himself in that situation. He's done wrong. I exposed it, and when I say I don't feel comfortable, I felt like a bit of a grass in my circle. That's how I felt. But at the same time, I had to weigh everything up. He's sitting in that meeting, and his money man saying, "You're looking at the next Prime Minister of this country. Yeah, you're looking at the future Prime Minister." It's all on record. It's all recorded. All right. He then says on record, I wouldn't be getting into this if I just thought I could be an MP. The Conservative Party have already offered me what committees or cabinets I want to sit on. Then what he says, this is another thing that wound me up about it, because this is true as well. He says that there's 500 people in a Conservative meeting, and Afzal's there with his money man. His money man's all pictured with David Cameron as well. Afzal sat there with his money man, and as Cameron walks in, Afzal says to the money man, "Don't go to him, he'll come to us." Yeah? And then what David Cameron does is he walks around everyone else who's trying to make a beeline for him. He ignores everyone else and he walks straight up to Afzal and the other Muslim fella, and he shakes their hand and says, "How's the campaign going on?" Now this is what we see, which I see as people we feel ignored for a section of the community in my town, yeah, which we feel are treated
favourably. That's white working class.
White working class. This is what that one little scenario of David Cameron walking in, ignoring everyone else and walking straight up to the Muslims, that's exactly the scenario that we see playing out in this country. And that has to be addressed. And what it seems is the same as Baroness Varzi, he would have been promoted to a position within that party, which for me had to be stopped.
And it would have been because he represented a community that the Conservatives wanted to.
And that's simply it. It would have been appeasement. That's simply it. He's a Muslim who speaks the Queen's English.
So on Saturday morning, did he know it was going to publish on the Sun? Was he aware?
Yeah, that's when he knew. Yeah, and I think he denied if you read in the article, when the newspaper first contacted him, I believe he denied even meeting me until he realised it was all on video.
Did he lose his temper with you?
No.
Just pure puzzlement and anger?
No.
Just bewilderment?
Just bewilderment. I guess that's all.
If what you say, and I have to say, if what you say is true, Mr. Robinson,
yep.
You're really taking on some pretty influential and some pretty scary people.
Well, that's the concern I had about this.
Your family, presumably.
Yeah, that's the complete concern I had. This is not. It's not a joke. I've obviously for the last 5 years took on, and I've had death threats from Al-Shabaab. I've had all these different things, and that was the big decision I had to make, because everything had just died down for me, and this has exploded it. And my wife's not happy about this. Or my wife was begging me not to do it when I said what was going on. But for me, it had to be exposed.
Yeah. So you've got issues now at home.
I've got issues at home. Nothing worse than being in the doghouse, but.
And you're concerned about the...
I've been in the doghouse for 5 years.
Right, yeah. Give me the ages of your children, roughly.
3, 5 and 7.
And you've got to be worried about them as well.
Yeah, because what this money man says in the first...
So in your language, as you said, are you brave or are you a grass?
I'm not... I'm not a grass. It's difficult. It's I see myself anyway as a dead man walking. But I've seen myself like that for 5 years.
So why do you do it?
Because it's right and it's morally right, and what I'm standing up for, trying to highlight. We look at circumstances like this grooming scandal. I don't think that would have been out here without the formation of the English Defence League. I don't think it would have been. People wouldn't have talked about these issues. So what bad has come from it also good has come from it if issues are getting addressed.
And you know he's listening now. I mean, you know he'll be listening. What do you want to say to him?
Be honest. That's it, simply. It's time to be honest.